How do we rebuild a reliable substitute teacher pipeline and stabilize day-to-day operations in hard-to-staff buildings? Well, that question lands on my desk in some form nearly every August, and it never comes from curiosity. It comes from a principal who spent Sunday night rearranging a master schedule because 3 classrooms will have no adult in them Monday morning, and from central office colleagues who have quietly accepted that certain buildings will run short all year. National workforce data confirms that those leaders already feel in their bones. Filling vacant positions has remained genuinely difficult for the majority of public schools heading into recent school years, and the strain shows up hardest in the buildings that can least absorb it. So before I answer that question fully, let me take you back to a lesson I learned long before I ever stood in front of a classroom. In uniform, part of my work in operations planning was making sure that every mission had depth behind each position. Not just the person assigned to a task, but someone trained to step in the moment that person went down, got reassigned, or wasn't available when the clock started. We called it building bench strength. The units that failed at it were rarely undone by one absence. The absence of a plan for that absence undid them. When I later became a central office staff member, I recognized the same failure pattern wearing different clothes. We had invested heavily in the classroom teacher. We had not invested in the day that teacher wouldn't be there. That is where districts most often go wrong, and it rarely looks like carelessness. It looks like busyness. Substitute recruitment gets treated as a transaction. Post the opening, wait for an application, and hope somebody nearby says yes. Analysts who track this closely point out that pay structures for substitutes have not kept pace with what it actually costs someone to say yes to uncertain, unbenefited work, which quietly shrinks the pool willing to take the call twice. Meanwhile, a building's first day with a substitute is treated as the only day that matters. So no one builds a reason for that person to come back for a 5th day or 50th day. Central office and school leaders often work these problems in separate rooms, arriving at the shortage only after it has already disrupted a week of instruction, rather than naming ahead of time which buildings are most fragile and deserve first call on the most dependable people. The best answer begins by treating your substitute pool the way you would treat any talent pipeline you genuinely intend to keep. Pay people promptly and competitively, enough that the assignment is worth repeating. Give every substitute a real point of contact on arrival, a short orientation to the culture and the students, rather than a folder left on a desk, and a simple way to flag when a placement went poorly, so the next one goes better. Bring building leaders and central office together before the school year starts, not after the crisis hits, to decide together which buildings need your steadiest people routed to them first. Operational capacity was never only about who teaches. It is the custodian who covers a shift when a colleague is out, the driver who takes a second run without complaint, the office staff who absorbs a hard morning with grace. You see, every one of them deserves the same intentional investment you are finally ready to give your substitute core. Because a school does not run on certified staff alone. It runs on everyone who chooses to show up. So, here is the challenge. Gather your building leaders this month, not next semester, and ask each one to name the 2 roles in their building that, left empty for a week, would do the most damage to a child's day. Build your pipeline around answering that question first. Rebuilding stability was never really about finding more people. It has always been about deciding in advance who matters most when someone doesn't show up, and making certain they already know it.